After Ryan Lowe was sacked after one game of the Championship season, we ranked every Championship manager by their job security in a video we did all the way back in August. In today's video, we're going to be revisiting that tier list and re-ranking every manager for how safe they probably feel in their job right now, whether or not they're under pressure or whether they're safe as houses. I'd be interested to know from you guys in the comments down below, how do you feel in regards to your manager right now? Are you happy with the direction things are going in, or are you a little bit concerned? Also, who do you think is the most likely manager to be sacked next in the Championship as well? All will be discussed in today's video. So back in August, this was the tier list that we put together, ranking every Championship manager by their job security. Obviously, since that point, we've got a few more managers at the bottom here to go ahead and add into the list. But quite a bit has changed since that point. We're going to be doing a lot of moving in this video, moving managers up and moving managers down. Obviously, at the time of recording, Ryan Lowe was the only manager who had lost his job. But since that point, we've had a couple more managerial casualties. So the first one we're going to have to move down into that already gone category is Errol Bulut, who I had in safe for now at the time of recording back in August. Cardiff were coming off the back of a decent season with Errol Bulut, sort of mid-table. There was the hope that they would go ahead and kick on this season, but the start to the campaign was just an absolute disaster, and I think Cardiff have been vindicated in getting rid of Bulut because we've seen such an upturn in performances and results since he left the club. So yeah, Bulut's gone since we last did one of these. The surprise departure of all the Championship bosses though was Steven Schumacher, another one who I had in the safe for now category. Even at the time of his dismissal, the majority of Stoke City fans, it felt like, were still behind Schumacher in that project, but the people behind the scenes, Jonathan Walters and co, wanted the club to go in a different direction, and they went ahead and made that change. So up until this point of the campaign, these are the three managerial casualties we've had so far, but out of this lot, I'm sure there's plenty more to come. May as well go through these tiers in the sort of order I put them together originally. I did initially have Daniel Farke as under pressure. We basically discussed in that opening video that Farke was under pressure to have a good start to the season with Leeds after missing out on promotion via the playoffs last season. It was crucial he got off to a good start. They had that 3-3 draw with Pompey on the opening day, but I'd definitely move Farke up. From that point, I'd have him in the safe for now category, I think, which would be fair. Leeds, definitely an automatic promotion contention. A bit of frustration maybe with some recent performances, but I think a lot of that is down to their injury list right now that they're contending with. Paul Warne, another one I'd have to stick up into the safe for now category as well. I think Derby have started this campaign really well, as is the case with anyone, probably, unless you're in the top 5 or 6 teams right now. You can absolutely still be dragged into a relegation scrap, but Derby's home record especially has just been so strong, hasn't it? They've started to pick up a few more points on the road as well. They're currently 12th in the table. Paul Warne, definitely safe for now. Rooney's an interesting one. At home park, Plymouth have been really competitive this season. There was a moment in that Preston game over the weekend where it felt like things maybe were starting to cave in on Rooney a little bit after some really tough results on the road. They had those back-to-back losses, the really bad one away at Cardiff where they shipped 5 goals. They're sat just outside the relegation zone as of recording. I still think there's a bit of pressure there with Rooney. This weekend, for example, they go away to Ellen Road to face Leeds United. If they get another battering in that game, end the weekend in the bottom 3, which they very well could, I still think there's that bit of pressure there with Rooney, especially to make them a bit more competitive on the road, if anything. From this list here, where would I move a lot of these managers? Neil Harris, I'd definitely move up into the safe for now category. If you didn't see yesterday's video, we did a bit of a deeper dive onto Millwall. Make sure to go ahead and check that video out. They're into the top 10. They've not been conceding many goals of late, only 1 goal conceded now in their last 4 matches, which is really impressive. They're not scoring an abundance of goals either, but they look like a solid outfit. Tom Cleverley, I'd also move up into the safe for now category. I mean, with Watford managers, it's always a tough one to judge, really, because it's been such a chaotic club over the years, obviously. The low point of their season was losing 3-0 away at Luton. Away form in general has been a bit of a problem for Cleverley's men so far this season, but really competitive at home. It was a good win for them over the weekend against Blackburn Rovers. They're in the top half right now, and Pound for pound, from my expectations of Watford at the start of the season, I think they probably have been punching above their weight a little bit so far this season. Cleverly gets a lot of credit for that. Regis Lebris at Sunderland. I'm going to put into the safe as houses category. What a start to the campaign it has been for Sunderland. One of the best starts we've ever seen at Championship level. They picked up 28 points from their opening 12 matches, averaging 2.3 points per game. If they were to average that between now and the end of the season, they'd finish the campaign with 107 points to their name, which is absolutely ridiculous. I don't think they'll keep up that sort of pace, but what he's been able to do in this role so far with a very young group of players, yeah, massively impressive. Johannes Thorup at Norwich City, obviously a new introduction of a manager coming into the league at the start of the season. We weren't sure how Norwich were going to fall. They lost that season opener against Oxford, didn't they? But I've been quite impressed with them so far. I'm going to put him into the safer now category. I think Norwich are playing some quite nice, fluid football. Their game over the weekend against Middlesbrough was an absolute cracker, that 3-3 draw, and they'll definitely be in and amongst the promotion picture this season. Certainly going off recent performances for me personally. Tim Walter at Hull City is a tough one to put your finger on. I think Hull were always going to have a bit of a bumpy start to this season because of all of the change in the summer. Getting rid of Rossini, they lost a lot of the spine of that squad that had pushed for the top six last season, but the ownership at Hull are very ambitious, aren't they? This all falls on whether or not he's under pressure right now and what the expectations were at Hull at the start of the season, because as of right now, I don't see them challenging for the top six, and obviously the owners there have always been quite vocal about that being the ultimate aim for them. I think we've seen good and bad parts of Hull so far this season. Definitely feels like they are lacking a bit of a natural number 9 that's going to bag them a lot of goals this season. The Liam Miller injury hasn't come at a great time for them either. Honestly, I think I'm still going to put him into the need to see more category. I think these next few weeks are quite crucial for him and Hull City, but it's a question of what their ambitions were at the start of the season. I don't think they'll go down or anything like that, but I'm just not sure I can see them pushing the top 6 right now either. Going into some of the managers who I had in the safer now category originally, Scott Parker I'd still have in safer now. We did a bit of a deeper dive on Burnley a few days ago on the channel. If you've not seen that video, make sure to go ahead and check it out. There is a bit of frustration bubbling there despite their position in the league being second at the moment. On the eye test, I've got to be honest, I think Burnley have been one of the most boring sides to watch in the Championship this season, but defensively they've been really resolute, and this is just what Scott Parker does. He gets results out of football teams, albeit it feels like they should be scoring more goals right now, but Parker's working with what he's got, and he's got them in the top 2. You can't have many complaints over that. John Eustace at Blackburn I'd also keep in the safer now category, considering my thoughts on Blackburn before the season. A lot of other people as well who thought they could be in contention for relegation after how much of a mess last season was. Been a real overperformance from them so far this season, especially at Ewood Park where they've been so competitive. Still yet to really get things going away from home, but a top half finish I think would be a really good season for Blackburn this season, and they're on track to do that right now. Liam Manning at Bristol City, obviously been a very testing time for him personally of late. Obviously it was great to see him returning to the dugout over the weekend against Leeds United. In terms of Bristol City and their performances so far, I mean, you'd have them in safe for now. They're sat mid-table. They've only won 3 of their opening 12 matches, but 7 of their opening 12 have ended as draws, which is absolutely mental. It feels like if they can start to turn that needle a little bit, maybe they can get themselves into top 6 contention. But right now, it's looking like another mid-table finish. I'd have him in safe for now. Chris Wilder, I think I'd actually move up into safer houses. To be honest with you, it's been such a good start to the season for the Blades. If you discount that 2-point deduction they had at the start of the season, they'd be sat second in the league right now. Only lost 2 of their opening 12 matches. Did well to bounce back over the weekend with that 2-0 win over Stoke. They'll definitely be in the promotion hunt come the end of the season. I think Wilder will be there for that as well. Des Buckingham definitely have in the safer now category. Been quite a few draws with Oxford of late, but they've been keeping their head way above water up until this point. Like we were saying with Paul Warne and Derby previously, there's still every chance that Oxford do get dragged into this relegation scrap, but they're continuing to pick up points, especially in their home matches. I think Buckingham's shown himself to be quite flexible in Oxford's approach to some matches so far this season, and on the eye test, I think they've been a fun watch in a lot of their matches so far as well. Then we get to John Mousinho though, and I think we're going to have to move him down to under pressure. Now, don't get me wrong, I think the vast majority of that Portsmouth fan base is still very much behind John Mousinho, and there are a lot of other factors going into why Portsmouth have struggled so much so far this season, whether that's down to recruitment, injuries, the players themselves, things going on behind the scenes. Mousinho isn't at the front of a lot of Portsmouth fans' frustrations. But when your side's at the bottom of the Championship, you've only won one of your first 12 matches, you're always going to attract that bit of scrutiny, aren't you? And it will be interesting to see Portsmouth's resolve this season. How long are they willing to potentially stick with Mousinho if we don't see an upward trend of results at some point of this season? Then we get to Luke Williams at Swansea, and a bit of a weird one right now. I'm going to put him into the need to see more category. Obviously, we've got a decent sample size of Williams at Swansea now, but just this run of form they're on at this point in time, how they come out of this determines where I'm landing on Williams right now, because they just can't score goals, Swansea, can they? They're by far the lowest scoring team in the Championship right now. They failed to score in their last 5 matches, and in their opening 12 games, they've only hit the back of the net on 8 occasions. They got into some really good areas in that game against Millwall over the weekend, but once again failed to hit the back of the net. Once again, with Swansea fans, I don't feel like all of that frustration is heading at Williams. I think there's other factors at play, but if they don't start scoring goals soon, I could definitely see a world where he drops into this category. And to be honest, I think we've got a few fallers looking at this safer houses category. The first one being Rob Edwards, who I'm going straight from the top to the bottom. It felt like Rob Edwards was almost this untouchable figure at Luton because of what he'd achieved in his previous Championship season, but we're now 12 games into this season and Luton are in the bottom 3. It's been such a frustrating one because there's been so many false dawns with Luton so far this season. I really thought that that win against Watford could have reinvigorated their season, but they've since followed that up with consecutive losses against Sunderland and then obviously Coventry. Such a frustrating one against Coventry as well because they were 2 goals up in that game. With another international break on the horizon, if Luton are still in the bottom 3 by then, the club could be forced to act. Another one, I can't believe I'm dropping down from safe as houses to under pressure, but it's Marti Cifuentes. QPR are 23rd in the Championship right now. They've only picked up 9 points from their opening 12 matches. He'd done such a great job with QPR last season, but for one reason or another, things just haven't been clicking for them this season. I think it was a decent draw over the weekend against Burnley. I think they'll definitely take that to build on the foundations of a clean sheet. You know, fairly tough place to go away at Turf Moor as well, but 1 win in 12 is sort of sackable territory. I think Marti Cifuentes still has just about enough credit in the bank from how good he was with QPR last season, but like I say, if QPR are still 23rd come this November international break, who knows what could happen. Mark Robins at Coventry has always felt like the safest manager in the EFL, but I'm going to move him down into safer now, I think, from safe as houses. I do get the impression with Robins that he's the sort of manager where if he gets the impression that he can't take Coventry any further, he'll be the one to step away from the role instead of Coventry being forced to act and then sack him. Great comeback over the weekend against Luton to come back from 2 goals down to beat them 3-2, but we have had a few false dawns with Coventry so far this season, so I'm not getting overly carried away with that right now. You know, let's not forget at the start of the season, top 6 was the aim for Coventry, and they've looked way off that pace so far. Robin still has the vast majority of that fan base backing him, but there was a bit of frustration bubbling over recently. You know, I saw it in the away end when Coventry came to Deepdale recently. A few fans at the end having a bit of a pop at Robins in that one. I still think he's safer now, but maybe not quite as safe as he once was given the start to the season. Michael Carrick, I still think he's in this top category, to be honest with you. Middlesbrough not quite cracking the top 6 right now, but all of their underlying performance data puts them as one of the best clubs in the Championship, and I think that Middlesbrough fans on the whole probably do recognise that, despite having some really frustrating results so far this season. He's still a manager I do rate really highly, and I mean, if I had to hand pick sort of 3 managers or so from this list who I think will go on to managing the Premier League one day, I think Carrick would probably be one of them. Danny Röhl at Sheffield Wednesday. I'm going to keep in the top category, I think. It feels like Wednesday have rided out that tough start to this season. They've been on a decent run recently. They've only lost 1 of their last 6 and have gradually been climbing up the Championship table. I think as long as Wednesday are making progress on last season's finish, generally speaking, the club were going to be happy there, and I think that Röhl will deliver that. And then finishing it off with Carlos Corberán. I still think he's safe as houses at West Brom. Don't get me wrong, it has been a really frustrating run of form of late. In the league recently, it's 6 games now without a win for West Brom, which seems a bit mental, but they're still holding on to a place in the top 6. That was the aim for them at the start of the season. Feels like the goals have dried up there for the Baggies recently. Corberán needs to tweak something perhaps in the final third to get them going in that department again. But pound for pound, I still think he's probably the best manager in the Championship. I think the most likely outcome for him leaving West Brom would be for another club to swoop in and poach him rather than West Brom themselves sacking him. But as of right now, those are my current thoughts on these Championship managers. In terms of the new ones we've got at this level, Paul Heckingbottom, definitely safe for now at Preston North End. I mean, over the weekend, it was a bit of a disaster, drawing 3-3 against Plymouth from being in such a good position in that game. But I'm actually blown away by the upwards trend of performances, chance creation, the improvement of individuals as well in such a short period of time from Heckingbottom. It feels like the whole fan base is behind him right now, and I think for good reason. At Deepdale, we've been really good so far this season. Away form, still a bit of an issue, as showcased by the weekend, but we're starting to score more goals right now. We're getting into a lot better areas, and the football, compared to what we were watching under Ryan Lowe recently, is just so much more watchable right now. Narcis Partch at Stoke City. I'm going to put into the need to see more category. He's still in his sort of infancy as a head coach at Stoke City. Results have been fairly mixed so far, and as the sort of Schumacher decision proved earlier in the season, Stoke are just a bit of an unpredictable club right now, so where we fall on him will likely depend on the results over these next few weeks and months. I think in his opening matches, we've seen some good and some bad so far. Stoke fans, what are your general vibes at the moment? And then finally for Omar Rizza at Cardiff City, you'd have to say safe for now. Obviously, he's not been given the job on a permanent basis. As of yet, he's still the interim boss, but what an upwards trend in results and performances it's been in from Cardiff since he took the job on from Errol Bullock. They've been scoring a lot more goals, they've been a lot more watchable. It just feels like there's much more of a buzz around Cardiff right now. So as things currently stand, these are my thoughts on all of the Championship managers. Would you move any of these around on this tier list? Let me know. Other than that though guys, that will now wrap it up for today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you did go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like, and I'll see you all in the next one.